Amid the technological race between the U.S. and China, there's an emerging field of biocomputing in other parts of the world, or human neurons powering the next generation of computers. How is this different from AI? What's the energy efficiency with this? And where is China in this new field? Joining us to unpack all this is co-CEO of Swiss startup FinalSpark, Fred Jordan. Fred Jordan, thank you so much for joining us. Great to have you on the show.
Thanks for inviting me.
So over at FinalSpark, you guys are doing something pretty special. You're making thinking machines. So first, what is a thinking machine? Break this down for us.
Well, so we are not yet at the point of thinking machine, but what we are trying to make indeed is the first living processor. That means a processor where instead of having transistors, you have living human neurons.
So where are you getting this from? Stem cells, or how are you producing the neurons?
Yes, actually, we are getting those neurons from stem cells, and those stem cells are obtained using skin, human skin. So from human skin, it's possible to get pluripotent stem cells that we can differentiate into neurons.
And so what is the ultimate goal with this? Because right now there's a lot of talk about AI. How is this maybe different, to make a comparison here?
Well, there are some commonalities, you're right. Ultimately, what we envision is to be able to create a biocomputing server. That means a server, big server, that could run some functionalities similar to AI today, but that would be living servers, actually. And that would be way more efficient from an energy perspective.
I want to dive into that because you mentioned biocomputing, right? Right now, if we talk about servers with the actual computers, you have a silicon hardware, and with AI especially, there's been a lot of talk about the energy consumption. Some people are saying they're seeing energy prices go up in their areas, right? So where would the energy come from for biocomputing?
Well, so the energy is still going to. It comes from the medium. Okay, you have living organisms. Okay, so there is water with nutrients that make them live. Right, but you have to consider that the neurons, for instance, those that we have in our head, are the results of hundreds of millions of years of evolution. And one of the big criterion that nature had was power efficiency. So at the end of the day, today, when we use living neurons, we benefit from this optimization, which have been done through years of evolutions. And this is why, actually, if you consider a living neuron compared to a simulation of a neuron, we have energy efficiency, which is maybe 1 million times higher.
Super interesting. So jumping ahead, right, say this is super accessible. How do you envision this playing a role in society or in universities? What are these biocomputers helping with?
So right now they are helping with the research, okay, fundamental research in order to master the way the neurons interact and how we can change their reaction. This is the point right now. But the vision ultimately is to replace some of the silicon-based server. If you take, for instance, Amazon Web Services, okay, they have very big factories running thousands of CPUs. This could be potentially entirely replaced with those living processors. And the end result for the consumer would be maybe similar. Okay, they could access also to some assistant, like ChatGPT, but for a very small fraction of the cost.
I mean, that part sounds great. I want to delve into the thinking part, if you will, because right now with generative AI or the chatbots, you're seeing cases of hallucination where it's creating things that aren't there, or giving falsehoods, or doubling down even on parts that aren't true, or depending on what you ask, you'll say yes to two different things that are very different. How will you ensure that the biocomputers maybe don't go down that route?
First, I'm not sure that human beings are always very coherent in their answers. Okay, so I'm not sure I can expect systems using real neurons to be much different. They won't be perfect. Okay, in any case, would that be better or worse or probably different from the AI that we have today? That's for sure.
Interesting. It's all very fascinating. I want to zoom out a bit here because as you mentioned, you're using stem cells, right? Is there any concerns in terms of ethics or morals that the stem cells are being used here instead of, I don't know, in the medical community?
No, they are not at this point. So if you think about ethics, the first thing is how do you get those stem cells? Okay, since we are using stem cells which are obtained from indirectly from a few cells of the skin, okay, there is no ethical consideration here. But there are ethical considerations at a totally different level. Right now, our brain organoids have about 10,000 of these neurons. Okay, but that means that we are considering neurons as small machines, and this is new, right? And right now we have few thousands of neurons, but tomorrow we could have billions or hundreds of billions, or actually even way more neurons than we have in our own brain. And this opens new perspective, and I don't know how to answer to this. So we started to actually discuss with academics in the ethics and philosophy field, so that they start thinking about what we are doing and what is the future of this.
Right now, is there a, I don't know, lifespan for the neurons and the organoids, the mini machines?
Yes. Well, when we started about 5 years ago, the lifespan was about a few hours. Okay, but we just broke our record last week, and we are about 8 months now with the one that we have online. So you have to consider that our own neurons, okay, live typically about 100 years. Okay, basically, schematically, we live all our life with the same neurons.
I want to look in terms of geopolitics, because right now, at least in the U.S., there's a lot of focus on the technological race between the U.S. and China, and whoever wins that, very different models, if you will. How do you see biocomputing fitting into that? Is there competition from China?
No, as far as I know, China is totally absent from this field right now. Okay, I would say surprisingly. The US is active instead of Australia and Europe, but this is really, really new. This is the next big thing after AI. So this is what we are talking about, the future here, an alternative to NVIDIA chips, actually.
And lastly, since you did mention you would like to see more competitors, if you will, in the field, are there any training programs that you would recommend people who are interested in this?
Yes, absolutely. Well, first we have our Discord network when people can connect and ask questions. And we take questions from everywhere from the world, students, child. So here we are in Switzerland. There is the Swiss Federal Institute of Technology, which is very close to us, and there is a master called NeuroX where we take internships. So every 6 months we have a new intern coming in. We also give free access to universities who want to use remotely, by the internet, our brain organoids. So there is also a repository of source code so that people can use to interact with those neurons and make experiments. So there have been already some publications done around this. So these are the different ways to know about this new field. And I think it's going to be a new industry.
Very fascinating for sure. Fred Jordan, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, it was a pleasure.